And the name I couldn't say was, of course, Rowan Shiv Kumar. Okay, Oliviero Toscani is a world-famous artist and photographer who comes from Italy. And we all know his work. So if you don't know the name, you know the work. And if I say the Benetton campaigns, you say yes. And he thinks, oh, here we go again with the Benetton again. He's an artist, says it makes no sense at all to make art if it's not controversial. He's going to read a manifesto as well. And I'm very curious. Mr. Oliviero Toscani.
How do I... wait a minute, I would like to make it 3 seconds every picture. It's okay? So, if I'm here because of Camuffo, you know, the Venetian guy there, who told me you should come to Amsterdam, Robert, too. So what you're seeing here is my work for 45 years altogether. I was 18-year-old in 1960. So you see, I'm an old man. In 1960, so I went through all the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, 2000, and I'm going to reach 2050 soon. So what you see here, they're all my work through the years. But I won't speak about that. That might keep you busy looking at that, because what I'm going to read you is going to be very boring. How many of you can read and write? Okay, raise your hand, please. Read and write. So everybody can read and write. How many of you are authors? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we might do this count also being a designer. It's not enough to be able to design to be a designer. So probably we are too many. Probably we are too many. And probably this kind of, convention, we do it because there is a lack of work, quantity of work. So let's talk about creativity. It's a stupid word, probably, creativity, overabused. But when I speak about creativity, I speak about the consequence of a work. Anybody who say I'm a creative person is just an idiot. You might do something that might be creative at the end of your work. Because creativity is a surplus of intelligence and sensitivity. It is the opportunity that potentially lies between our heart and our brain. The human race is divided in 2 classes, in 2 categories. Creative people and uncreative people. And this is a choice that every human being does at a certain moment of his life. Politicians, for example, and people in power would like to become gods. Instead, creative people are in direct competition with God, the quintessential creator. But since they are neither politicians or nor people in power, they don't care whether God exists or not. They are happy with having been created creative, and they consider themselves privileged because of it. While the people of power, you know those managers, you know those marketing men, are consumed by envy. Creativity is genesis, birth, divine force, energy, imagination, suffering, commitment, faith, generosity. Creativity has to be visionary, subversive, disturbing. It must be innovative. It must drive ideas and concepts. It has to question stereotype and old models. Creativity requires energy and courage. There are few people left who have that energy, because everything from education into the family to the education in school and religious, ethical education tend to limit the creative energy in each of us. Truly creative people are rare. They are a tiny minority. is oppressed by false proponent of creativity and by everyone else. Only truly creative people have no fear of creativity. Everyone else is afraid of it. They, the non-creative people, oppose it and try to curb it because they know that creativity gives rise to new ideas that sooner or later they will have to come in terms with. The army of non-creative people is huge. It includes a mass of bureaucrats who claim that their position of power gives them the right to block creative processes. They exist to cut down to a level of mediocrity every idea that is not stupid enough to gain consensus. That's why all newspapers are alike, more or less. All automobile look like one another. Television programs are interchangeable. Different brands of clothing propose identical styles. Market research helps identify the so-called target. They are willing to accept mediocrity and just as willing to reject innovation and ideas, according to the researcher. The economy is a pretext. Power's lack of culture and lack of courage to invest in ideas is a clear and undeniable sign of the agony of creativity. Paradoxically and ironically, creative people must constantly defend themselves from the bureaucrats of power. You know those managers that tell you what you have to do. Those who never need to defend their own lack of creativity and courage, but seem to identify solely with the role of accuser and censors. In the past, the success of great entrepreneurs, statesmen, popes were always linked with the name of creative, visionary people who were capable of leading ahead and propelling themselves. You know, you see different kind of picture here. Shit too. And propelling themselves into the adventurous world of research, discovery, and conquest. They employed transgression and provocation, the forces characteristic of art. They made diversity a value in contrast to conformism. And behind all that was the force of creativity. Art is the highest expression of communication. So simple as that. And by art, I don't mean only painting and sculpture or ancient and traditional arts. But above all them, I believe in the modern mass art, like photography, design, architecture, cinematography, and so on. Communication, like art, has always been at the service of a power or another. Religion, you know, Michelangelo worked for the popes. He didn't believe a thing, but he made the best virgins. Religion, politics, industry, and production. Or as a counter-power, but still a power. But it does exist a huge problem for everyone who believes and feels passionately about freedom for creativity in communication and the power that needs communication. The business, the faceless corporation, with their manager for whom the risk of creativity evokes unpleasant reminders of youthful defeats and deluded aspiration. Companies, and between them also publishers, with their committees and board and marketing director and bureaucrats and manager, people who don't say a word or move a finger without consulting and market research reports, where everything is pre-established. Audience, acceptance, percentages. People who think that they understand the need of the masses, of those who make up the part of humanity they simply call consumers. We are just consumers for them. Creativity is communication. Today, the creativity of communication is conditioned by an obsessive research and search for consensus. Everybody wants to be accepted. In the false belief that consensus is success. Fear of failure always produces mediocrity. because the chosen solution will always be the least risky and the most banal. In most cases, doesn't even attempt to be original, but wants rather to be a mediocre and repetitious replica of itself. All what you see there are things that I did through the 45 years. Magazine, editorial, picture. Modern design has been stripped of ideas and individual passion. It has been relegated to a role of a company servant. It has to be a vehicle for strategy that focuses solely in raising the market price of the company's stock. But the raw material of art are the artist, the communicator, the photographer, the designer, the writer, the author, the musician, the actor, the image creators. Good sense would tell us that they should be protected, handled with the same care with which baker handles flour. But this is something that is becoming more and more rare. The artist who clings to his intent, his sensitivities, his aspiration, to his vision rooted to his own insecurity, because you cannot be creative and be secure. And they exploit the fact that when you are the most creative, you are the most insecure. The essential requisite for producing creativity risk seemingly narcissistic, hysterical, or even presumption. Like me now, probably, now. Creative people, but you have to the courage to be that too. Creative people now are condemned to serve and work in terms of finance success and the stock exchange, with communication concept, idea, and scenario are conceived and decided on by specialists in communication and marketing, by marketing researchers, and by levels upon level of managers who make sure the result is banal and stupid enough to satisfy the public that they call the target, the minimum common denominator of the market of our society. Commercial success, not creativity, is what counts. Doing so, most of the image and media are stupid, flat, costly, repetitive, and useless. Communication is a means of delivering messages produced by an institutional and corporate power that is polluting our lives with this miserable level of culture and creativity. In the world of communication, and not just in that world, the people who manage creativity, limiting and restraining it instead of encouraging it, are paradoxically responsible for working against the very same economic interest that they say they defend. But no fear. The only thing that's missing is courage. The courage to take risks. And anyone who won't take risks can't be creative. What you see here is the project I'm working on since some years. It's called The Human Race. This is the Italian. I went to Israel, and the project is to photograph all the people that belong in the country of the Mare Nostrum, Mediterranean Sea, all those countries. In the meantime, see what's happening, wars and search of democracy. Very interesting. Creativity is the risk and opportunity of the real present. If we are really interested in the future, we can simply study the present. Unfortunately, we consider the present to be the only what happened in the rear mirror. So we live in the past because the past is more secure. Since we have already been there, it is more comfortable for us. You know, they redo the Cinquecento, they redo everything that has already been done. So that is more safe. Whatever lives or looks at the present is disturbing. It is a truly subversive, a really revolutionary. This picture I do with I go around the piazzas in the world, in the cities, and I put my white background, and I do photograph people like that. Excitement, this is a nice theme, about new technologies and every conceivable kind of software sustaining modern communication justify our creative inertia. we are all becoming, my dear friend designer, very, very lazy. In the meantime, a huge part of inhabitants of this planet has never heard the telephone ring. About 7% of the world is online. In other words, 93% of the world's population does not have the possibility to access to the internet. We saw this morning the beginning. I don't even go through. I had all that right here, and I don't repeat that. What we refer to as a technological and digital device is an unbridgeable crack in the earth that acts more like a barrier, safeguarding and enriching those who have access and dividing them from those who have nothing. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. I think we finished the projection. Fantastic. So I can close this thing. Have you still got time? Because I didn't finish it. You might think that we would want to share a little of our wealth. But in fact, official aid from the rich country to poor country shrank by 25% between 1992 and 1997. And it is presently at the lowest level in 40 years. Now, priority is given to military spending, to the hysteria for security and defense from terrorism. Today, communication with all its media is like some colas, Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, all the colas, right? Are largely content-free, artificially flavored, infinitely reproducible, soft drinks based on a memory of addiction, sweetening our false need. That's the design. No potential for sustenance or nourishment. I must say that this morning I saw some interesting thing. This is a general criticism to what is normally considered design today. No potential for sustenance or nourishment, and no enduring quality beyond an immediate need of thirst. A thirst of what? An endless yearning to fill the space, that gaping hole left when we are not fed or truly satisfied or loved. As we cannot love ourselves, we haven't got the courage. We crave substitute love from the outside, and we mold media to perform the virtual role for us. And like using monosodium glutamate, the communication, the design, food tasted great, is addictive, but can leave you feeling bloated and tired with an headache, leaving a trace of addiction. And like addicts, we always return for more and more. Our memories washed from the past, but not free enough to live the present or to imagine a different future. So, most of the communication, most of the design, like most of product, look alike. It is branded and conditioned by marketing that make us feel part of the herd. In the vast global flock of livestock, where to be different means to be alienated. Branding means exactly that. A burning logo of ownership stamped forever in our brain. No one wants to be a black sheep or a lost sheep. So we are all lamb in the slaughterhouses of communication, and especially that of the multinational brand. A brand is a membership card. It means that we belong to the global club in the race against mortality, in the race against time that tries to stop our death, which is snapping in our heels. Brands do not nourish society. Brands do not nourish us. We do nourish brand. We think that the future is a place where scientific and technological evolution combined with branding and marketing will give rise to a guilt-free, trouble-free, pain-free, shiny, sterilized virtual world. I saw some picture of that here. A world in which everything that is potentially ugly about human reality is excluded to fear or turning code upside down. You cannot turn code upside down. No, you're not allowed. They say, man, he presented me as provocation. Well, what the hell is that? While you are trying to reduce all the life to a set of pathetic code, the worst risk is that of natural evolution. Natural evolution, that's the worst risk. Difference becomes the enemy of the state of things. But creativity in communication is anything but superficial. Increasingly, it nourishes our fear, augments our deepest feeling of insecurity. We are convinced that our future survival depends on what we consume, on material riches and on power. The media have been sterilized. They are one way only, reproducing themselves in a monoculture. A fanatic vision of excitement and promises, a place where Disney and sperm are deep frozen to be revived in the future, evolving in highly sophisticated software system, final solutions that are influenced and amplified by the arm of intellectual property. Today, communication feeds on the people that it should feed instead. Originally, it was thought to be a public service. The voice of production and consumption, the voice of culture. That's what design should be. The voice of culture, the form of culture. But now it has degenerated, becoming an instrument of economic manipulation. We don't design for that, we design for marketing. Intellectual, creative people and artists who produce communication, who produce design, are in the front line in this army of collaborationists. Artists should have the power finally to free themselves from their fear. Not to be afraid of your insecurity. Be proud of it. Those managers, they are all very secure of their mediocrity. The future needs to allow the artist real power and responsibility in the world of communication. Creative people should break those bonds and destroy those codes and help encourage free thought. It has never been in the marketing interest that we artists and consumers should be able to think. Because anyone who thinks can be creative, and creativity is always and has to be subversive. It's about time to revolutionize this situation. We need creativity in communication. There have been, and there are still, instances where expression has had the courage to risk being different. I saw this morning this girl in the Middle East. Communication that take risk and dare to go beyond profit and the requirement of the client. Creativity has to be subversive, always, unless it encounters an intelligent patron or an institution. It is destined to remain outside pre-established plan and bureaucratic authorization. To be creative means to have no security. It means doing the contrary of what every pre-established system wants you to do. To be creative means to try to do something that has never been done before. To build out of nothing something that can have an enormous value. Creativity requires a state of non-control, a limitless courage, and that is why conformism is creativity's worst enemy. Anyone who doesn't have the courage to be able to risk cannot be creative. We do not produce creativity but conformity, opting to publish cliché clone from a palette of prefabricated ideas. Everything must be capable of being reproduced. This is a problem of the evolved democracies. Very rarely, political and economic power will assume the responsibility of experimenting, but prefer to stay on a beaten track. Thanks to marketing. On the other hand, no one cares anymore about teaching creativity. This kind of scholastic system is leading also to a loss of manual that ability that was the hallmark of the master craftsman, especially in my country. We cannot hope to find creativity in young people who are taught to conform. Yet without creativity, there would be nothing to spark enterprise. There would be no industry and therefore no economy. Communication with all its entire media could really be at the service of the humanity. They could be creative means of research into the new language that we are searching for symbolize and identify the human condition and the extension of society. To understand and explain the new world that is racing toward us with the speed of a meteorite. They could be utilized to help enriching humanity in the laborious task of expressing itself better in this world, to connect with the rest of society and permit a better future. This kind of design, media, and communication could challenge. I'm finished. Could challenge and provoke debate about ideas. It could break the rules, destroy the preconception and the conformism that rule and condition us. This could give rise to true beauty and give us the opportunity to create in a condition of free expression, communicating true and profound belief to the world around us without being conditioned by profit. We have the creativity in design to change the messages, rearrange the entire image. We have to rearrange the entire image. The world, the time is going on. Every day is a different day. We cannot think and be and believe what we were yesterday. We have to have the courage to put ourselves in discussion every single day. We must have the courage to risk to being different. No one should be culturally, physically, or spiritually starved. Channels of distribution do exist, even too many. Creative people and providers and creators of content may have the key to unlock real communication, real design. Communication of real meaning that could change our lives and the life of others with creativity and respect. We need to create a dialogue, not a monobrand, a monothought, a monologue, a monoculture. We have to alter the messages, rearrange the whole image. We should not only be survivor of our species as designer, but we should prosper creativity and evolve dynamically. We must recognize the whole human race as a brand with all its diversity, ethnic and colors, its differences and sometimes its limited and vetos. A human brand based on respect, not on power, possibility, not uniformity, love, not fear. Creativity is a surplus of intelligence and sensitivity. It is the opportunity that potentially lies between our heart and our brain. Our spirit needs that kind of creativity in modern communication. And that is what design could do. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not. It wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't as funny as Giorgio.
We're going to do this completely different.
It wasn't as funny as Giorgio about Venice, right?
You want to ask questions as well. You want to ask questions, not only the Twitter people. So we're going to do this completely different. It's not scripted. If you want to ask a question, you raise hands, stand up, speak loudly. I will repeat the question. You can speak any language, as well as balcony. Go ahead. Who wants to talk to this man? If not, I can do it, but I think you can do it as well. Who? Yes, please, in the back, white shirt.
To get?
Against populism. What can we do against populism? He means the political,
What do you mean?
sort of right wing. You mean in the political
political
populism, as we know in Dutch populism, eh? He means the right wing political forces. Berlusconi.
Yeah. It will be finished on Monday. It will be over on Monday. I promise.
We heard that.
You will see. You will see.
Next question.
We over on no, but about against populism.
Please stand up.
You know, how can I explain that?
Yeah, no, say, please so.
This is a pendulum of time, okay? it goes like that. You know the clock? That was the 60, for example, and the pendulum was here. This is a 2010 and the pendulum was here. So there are moments where the pendulum is much more behind of some past time where the pendulum was in front. But we are going on. I'm very optimistic. Now is much better than 10 years ago, than 20 years ago, than 30 years ago, for sure. Some 100 years ago we met each other, we killed each other. That's what we did. We still do that a lot. But I think we are doing better. We are making progress. You know, Bush came and then Obama came. Without Bush, Obama wouldn't have come, for sure.
So it's a matter of waiting until the pendulum goes. Thank you. Who's next? Yes.
You said about, just because you can read and write doesn't make you an author. But I was, oh, good. What's then? Can you hear now? Sorry. You said about, just because you can read and write, and I don't want to pull apart because I love the enthusiasm, your energy. It's fantastic. But one of the things what worries me is that designers think they have all the tools, and I've spent time. Designers feel as if they have all the tools, that they're the people who can make, this kind of problem solving.
Yeah.
And I've been in, say, Palestine, where they use empty Israeli shells as doorstops. Now, this is brilliant design, but it's also a kind of political and creative act on their part. And I just feel as if sometimes in your excitement, you felt as if creativity was a very exclusive, slightly, it was kind of sectioned off from the rest of society. And I'm just saying that maybe design, a lot of designers are out there just doing it. We call it cultural jamming, or we call it, whatever.
The question, please.
Well, the question is that I'm just disagreeing. Just that.
Great. Just one person disagree. It's like a dictator, I feel.
No, I'm more than disagreeing. I'm saying that what you're doing.
I wish everybody would disagree. It would be much more interesting to get some tomato, eggs.
In between.
So, but I'm getting old. If everybody agrees, it's not good.
Can I just finish off while he? Can we just finish off because I got
Let's get a question, please.
No, there's no question. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that you are making a disservice to designers by making designing almost an elitist occupation.
No, listen. I tell you one thing. I went through so many years, and it happened to me. When I made Fabrica and then Asterpai, all those places called creative studios. Young people come to me. A lot of young people now. A lot of young people seem to be creative. When you're not really good, I got 3 children. The most intelligent become electronical engineer. The other one, and then the youngest one, the mama love. My little child, he's so artistic, he's going to be an artist. So they come and say, Toscani, I'm full of ideas. I really feel like a creative person. But I got a problem. Say, what problem? I can't really express all what I think and what I got inside me. I say, very easy. You're not an artist. You're not an artist. Everybody of us has got incredible ideas in 10 seconds. Everybody. The artist is the one who doesn't have the problem to express himself. He's just creative. Be careful the people who's got ideas. Be careful people who's got ideas. They made major damage to society. Just look back the ideas. No ideas. I don't want ideas. I want creativity.
Sorry, Chris.
I hate ideas. When somebody comes to me, I got an idea, I say, okay, stop, go away. I don't want to hear. No, I'm not joking. And there are some people who come, some young people who come. Daniel, I really like what, your nonsense. That was very creative. They come and just tell you normally their nonsense.
You're talking about Daniel Itok, who presented the...
And they speak and they say what they are. They don't want your consensus. They don't want to be particularly bright. They don't want to have success. And they are incredibly creative. Those are the people I'm looking for.
Did you want to?
We did a magazine like that, like Color. Nobody knew what was a magazine. I never hire somebody who had an experience. First job.
Did you want to have success?
Probably one day. Somebody lost his wedding ring. Who got married here?
The fashion designer.
That's a good way to throw away.
But now I can finally marry my wife.
No, I tell you.
Go on. Did you find three?
Did I want to have success? I tell you one thing. In high school, in Milan, I was born in Milan. My father was a news photographer from Corriere della Sera. So photography was nothing glamorous. Everybody worked, my mother worked, my sister worked, everybody worked. And instead of going to school, I used to go to the movies. There were 3 cinemas in Milan that used to do performance 9 o'clock in the morning all day long. And I was passing my days there. And I was thinking, what will I do when I grow up? Because you also got the sense of guilt of not going to school. I mean, it wasn't easy not to go to school and explain your parents, why didn't you go to school? Look at the teacher, what they say. But then when I think back, I say, what the fantastic, that was genius. I know all the movies of the 50 American movies. I know all the French movies, Godard, by heart. I know every word. Because sometimes I saw the same movie 3 or 4 times in a day. So I really never thought that photography would give me, it was a job. I did exactly what my father did. I never had a call. I'm still waiting for my call, what I will do when I grow up. I did what my father did. My sister is a photographer, 11 years older than I am. So it's a job. It's a job.
We can have another question. Balcony. There must be intelligence on the balcony. Yes, please, go ahead. Yes, you.
Be courageous.
Oh, there is a mic.
I think sometimes, do you think that design is actually creating more bad than good because, it creates desire and overproduction and consumerism, and there are more designers today than there were yesterday, and there'll be more tomorrow. Is this going to be bad for us, you think?
Well, I can't tell you that. I just know the design not lost, but it is evolving in a marketing request. It's not anymore the research of what design should do, but is much more satisfying a certain marketing research of a lot of objects that they are polluting our life. When I look around, we're talking about Dubai. I didn't see there a square meter interesting of architecture. 1 square meter is all a bunch of crap. Go to Dubai and look. That's my vision. Nonsense. Mm-hmm. And I'm not here to be conservative or not at all. I'm the luckiest, most privileged person I ever met in my life. I'm 70, healthy, everything works, 6 children, 3 wives, and gone.
2 more questions. Yes, please, stand up.
Sorry.
Can you relate a little bit about your relationship with clients, the big clients you have? How did you get your freedom?
It's a good question. You worked for very big clients, and now you're telling us...
My big client, I got very big clients.
How did you do that?
I got some clients I worked for decades with. I still work. My project I'm working now is for the government of Nicaragua. Big client. We're making a campaign. Nicaragua, is a revolutionary country. It's got a democratic government now. Reconciliation government, very interesting. So how do I relate to my clients?